Hi there everybody, my name's Rick Graham and I'm bringing you another tutorial for Guitar Interactive magazine. Today I'm going to be taking a look at a subject that I've termed Melodic Arpeggios. Now what exactly is a melodic arpeggio? Well, I'll give you an idea. Essentially when we think of arpeggios as guitar players, we tend to really think in terms of sort of sweep picking, this kind of shape. That kind of thing that is it's a bit limiting in a way because it generally is played in that fashion, which can be a little bit restrictive, especially if you're a player that's into phrasing and articulation and string bending, sliding, all of those kind of things. There's not a lot you can do with that shape really, apart from play it like that. So I'd like to take a look at a different approach to playing arpeggios that enables us to apply all of these articulations to, and not only that, but the shapes I'm going to show you are extremely easy to learn. And what we're going to do is we're going to be playing 2-note per string arpeggios. And like I said before, with each shape, when you play 2 notes per string, you get repeating patterns. So you only really have to learn one particular shape and move it around the fretboard. But obviously we've got to learn the whole fretboard. So I'm going to give you a few examples here of positions. And what I've done for you is prepare you 5 different 7th chords or 7th arpeggios. And I'm going to show you exactly how each one of those looks on the guitar with our 2-note per string figure. So what we have with 7th chords are 4 different notes. So it follows that if we start, for example, with the first note, you get root position, followed by the next shape, which is first inversion, then second inversion, then third inversion. So you end up with 4 different patterns. So I'm going to show you 4 different patterns which cover the whole fretboard for each chord shape. And what we're going to be dealing with are major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, minor 7 flat 5 and diminished 7th arpeggios. So I'll take you through each one. So first of all, we're going to take a look at the major 7th arpeggio shape. And what I'm going to do is, rather than start in root position for each shape, I'm going to start on third inversion, generally because the third inversion shape is probably the one that you're going to use more often than the others. So I'm going to start with that and then move into root position, first inversion, second inversion, and so on. So let's get cracking, and I'm going to do these nice and slowly for you. So let's take a look at the first inversion of A major 7, and the shape looks like this. Okay, very easy to start with. We start with the 7th degree here at fret 4 of the E string, and that's followed by the root, and the 3rd and the 5th at fret 4 and 7 of the A string. So we end up with this shape. Okay, we can take that exact same shape, move it up 2 frets on the D string. So it's exactly the same shape, we only have to learn that one shape. And we do the same thing, but because of the B and G strings, they're tuned a third apart, we have to move up an extra fret. So we start at fret 10 for that. So, excuse me, fret 9 going to fret 10. So all in all, we have this shape. Okay, so that's our third inversion shape. Now I'm going to show you the first inversion, or sorry, the root position shape. And I'll play that for you, just on the first 2 strings. Okay, so that's our root position major 7 arpeggio. And we do exactly the same, we're applying the same principle as with the previous one to this shape, and we end up with this pattern. Okay, so what we're going to do from there is move on to the next available shape, which is our first inversion shape. That starts at fret number 9 and looks like this. And again, as with the other shapes, we repeat up 2 frets on the D string. So all in all, that shape okay, and then we're into our final position here, which starts at fret 12. And I'll play that shape for you. And again, as before, we only have to learn that one shape and move it up accordingly. Okay, so there I've given you an A major 7 arpeggio, 2-note per string pattern, and you'll see that it's of real benefit because we only have to learn one particular shape, i.e. on a set of 2 strings, and just move it up to the next available string set. And it makes learning the shapes a lot easier. Not only that, but you can articulate with various different techniques as opposed to being stuck in that sweep pattern that's so easy to do. So just as an example, if I just take that first position that I showed you, which is the 3rd inversion, I might want to actually bend into the root position from the 7th. That gives us a lot more possibilities in terms of being able to phrase using an arpeggio idea. So that gives you an example of why I've termed it Melodic Arpegios. So moving on, what I'm going to show you is exactly the same principle, but we're going to move it onto a dominant 7th arpeggio. So we'll show you that shape. Starting at fret 3 of the bottom E string, our first shape is like this. Okay, so we have 3 and 5 on the E, and 4 and 7 on the A. And again, following the same principle, we just move it up each time to our next set of strings. See, it makes learning these shapes a hell of a lot easier just by learning one particular shape for one pair of strings. So, moving on to the next shape, and that sounds like this. Okay, same principle for the next inversion, and that sounds like this. And then we look at our final position, which sounds like this. Okay, good. So far, hopefully you're seeing the value in this. It opens up a whole new world of possibilities, especially phrasing possibilities using arpeggios. So let's move on. And we're going to do a minor 7th arpeggio now. And we're going to start at fret 3, as per before, with 3rd inversion, starting on, this time, the flat 7th degree of the arpeggio. And the first shape looks like this. Moving the shape up accordingly, as we've discussed before. Good, let's move it up to the next available position. Same again. Same again. Okay, and our next position, starting at fret 8, looks like this. Up 2 frets. Okay, let's take a look at the following position. And there we've covered all the inversions for our minor seventh arpeggio. You can obviously see now how simple it is. You'll find some patterns a little bit more awkward than others, depending on the arpeggio shape that you're playing, but again, just practice them all and hopefully you'll be as comfortable in any position, which is a good thing, obviously. So moving on, what we're going to take a look at now is a minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio. And one thing that I will add at this point is that with each arpeggio, it's a good idea to relate one to the previous one so that you know how it's changed. More often than not, it's just one note. So all you're changing is one note, and it's a lot easier to visualize the fretboard in that way when you're only changing one note. So that's a good practice to get into. So A minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio, starting as always, third inversion, third fret of the bottom E string, and our shape looks like this. And again, moving up 2 frets. Good. Let's move to the next shape, which looks like this. Okay, excellent. And then we're on to our next available position, which looks like this. And our final position looks like this. Okay, that's all. We're almost done there, but we've got one more to go, and that's our diminished 7th arpeggio. I'm sure a lot of you guys out there, specifically rock guys, or if you're into neoclassical, you're familiar with these arpeggios, but you might play it a slightly different fingering. But what I want you to try and do is do it with this particular fingering, just to keep in the same mindset as with the exercises that we're doing here. It's pretty beneficial to sort of break out of things that you find comfortable, you know, your comfort zone. So, with our diminished 7th arpeggio, we're going to start this time, again, third inversion, but this, obviously, this is a symmetrical shape. If you know these shapes, you'll know it's a symmetrical shape. So we end up playing exactly the same shape for all positions, but I'll show it you anyway. So we start at fret 2 of the bottom E, and it looks like this. Following shape. Final shape. Okay, then our next position. Okay, good. You can see it's exactly the same shape, just moved up 3 frets. So our next position. And then our final position. Okay, there's quite a lot of information there, and although there's 4 different inversions for each chord, remember that you only have to learn one particular shape and just move it up accordingly. Remember that you have to cater for that G and B string because of the tuning, so you always have to add a little bit extra there and accommodate for that shape. So what I'd like you to do is give these shapes a go and try and create some phrases out of them. And rather than just like our stock sweeping patterns that become a little bit bland after a while, this will hopefully take you into new territory, and you'll hopefully be playing melodic arpeggios till the cows come home. But you need to practice them hard anyway. So this is the first part of this tutorial. In the next part, we're going to be taking a look at some examples so that you can see how I would use it in context. So for now, I need you to get practicing these arpeggios. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and as I said before, get practicing, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.